In this video, we're going to focus on the installation of the Osprey Point of Sale back office web client. The first step is for us to go in and edit the host file. Depending on the OS and your personal preference, there are multiple ways to do this. I'm going to do it from a command prompt, so I'm going to right click on my command prompt shortcut and run as administrator, as administrative privileges are required to edit this file. I'm going to change into the Windows, System32, Drivers, etc. folder. Then I'm going to edit the host file with my editor of choice, which in this case is Notepad. I'm going to come down and I'm going to set the IP address of the machine where my Osprey Point of Sale server is. In this case, it's the same machine, so I can simply use the loopback address. However, in most cases it will be a separate machine, in which case you'll want that machine's IP address. The name will be OspreyPOS.WebClient.server. At this point I will save the file. Now if you were not an administrator at this point, the save dialog will come up and it will not actually let you save it. So do not make that mistake. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And now I'm going to run the OspreyPOS Web Client version 11.7.100 installer. I'm going to choose to again do so as an administrator. It's going to launch the splash screen for the install wizard. At this point I'm going to click next. Again, you should read the license agreement and then accept it. And click next again. And now I'm going to choose install. At this point it's going to do its file copy. Now, just like prior versions of the different web clients, the web client installation will actually install the files that we need for the installation, as well as the Progress web client itself, in this case the 64-bit web client, as well as the actual back office web client software. Subsequent executions of the software will run against the server, and if the server has a newer version of the software, we'll send it down across the wire. With version 11.7 of OpenEdge, however, if the Apache server is not accessible, the web client will give you the option to go ahead and proceed. While this is a practical enhancement for those that, for whatever reason, the Apache isn't available temporarily, it should not be considered a long-term fix, and as such the Apache should not be disabled. If that is done, updates that are done in the server would not propagate down to the client, and eventually you will run into issues with that. It is also advisable to watch the other videos in the OspreyPOS 11.7 series, as there will be some on changes to 11.7, such as logging and configuration. Many of those changes will also apply to the web client back office, as well as the web client point of sale and the web client mobile apps as well. At this point it's going to install some of our third-party controls such as QBFC. And now we're moving on to the Progress web client itself. If you have both back office and POS on the same machine, you will have two web clients loaded. You'll have the 64-bit web client loaded for the Osprey POS back office, and you'll have a 32-bit web client loaded for Osprey Point of Sale. Our next step will be to install the Osprey Point of Sale web client itself. In this case, it's asking us that we want to install an application by ORS, and the answer is yes. It's again going to perform this install locally, so it will be incredibly quick compared to some things. At this point we're finished. We can click Finish. There'll be some configuration to occur. At this point the application is ready to run after we reboot the machine. I'm going to go ahead and click OK to close that out. I'm going to go ahead and drag this install to the recycle bin so I don't have a cluttered desktop. And at this point you do see the OspreyPOS web client icon. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and restart the machine, and then we'll go ahead and dive in. Okay, as you can see, we've now rebooted, so I'm going to go ahead and start the back office web client. As with the actual back office server itself, the first time we run it, we want to run as an administrator so we can create our entry point into the event viewer. So I'm going to right click on the icon and choose Run as Administrator. That's going to launch the Webclient app. That'll bring up our splash screen. And then our login. Now in our case, we've already changed our password to the number 1 in the earlier server video, so that's what I'm going to use. However, if you have not, the default login is just as it was for the server, Unified POS in 1966. Once we sign in, we will get our main menu. And just as it was shown in the server video, the functionality is generally the same. There are some practical differences as far as MDI versus non-MDI, which involves how the windows come up. As was shown in the server video, you'll note that instead of us having tabs across as we open up screens, the screens are fundamentally floating resizable screens, so we can drag them, we can expand them, we can contract them, however we want to do. And just as with the server, if you go down in your toolbar, you will see an icon for each app. Each screen that's open. We have our main menu, we have our accounting window. If I opened up a third one, there would be a third one there. So I can close them from the actual window with the X as always, or I can come down here and close them from here as well. For the other differences, please review the other videos in this series. Thank you and have a good day.